In the eastern regions of Skyrim's Rift, tucked just below the Velothi Mountains, we can come across a gap in the earth. A seemingly ordinary cave that you could use as a shelter from the biting cold. But this place stretches deep below the surface, into old places, long forgotten. Welcome to Oddities, a show where we take a look at locations in games to find details, moments, and minutiae we just think are interesting, celebrating the mundane that someone still had to put thought into. So grab yourself a tea or a coffee, and sit back as we explore together. Today we're here at Tolvald's Cave, a sizable dungeon you can come across as you explore the rift, or, should you put yourself through the pain, the unusual gem quest will take you here as well. There's a cart sitting just at the mouth of the cave, with a bow and some supplies. Some hunters having stopped by to enter the cave. A pretty bad idea, as we'll soon see. You can't fault them, however, for the cave isn't too far from the road, and there's a small water source should you need to hydrate. Entering, the wind fades away and we can instantly spy a campfire, throwing shadows all around the cave. 3 bedrolls are here, the hunters having set up just beyond the cave entrance. And, on this stool, we can find a journal belonging to one of the trio.
After trailing the beasts for several days, I think we've finally found their lair. It seems like their den is further in this cave. There may be more of them than we first thought, but after seeing the strange columns and pipes, there may be some sort of ruin here. My gran always said those places were full of treasures, just waiting for the first person to find them. We've decided to make camp and try and clear out the animals and see if there is anything worth taking.
They came in here hunting some beasts, likely these saber cats, one lurking in the dark just beyond the makeshift camp. A body lies nearby, probably one of the hunters who underestimated their prey. Interestingly, this body is marked as a bandit. Perhaps this band of hunters belonged to a criminal organization, unless the cat dragged this poor person in from outside. I'm sure the hunters wouldn't have had much time to set up camp, or explore, were it still home. They had a soup or broth going above the fire, but it's been toppled, the hunters having been attacked by the cat returning home, or worse. It looks like they were planning to stay here for a while. There's more sacks of food up on this ledge and by this pillar. Perhaps this was a bit of an expedition, the team striking out into the wilds to hunt several bounties. With the war, these cats might have been growing bold as the able-bodied inhabitants of towns march off, leaving the settlements ripe for plucking away farm animals and lone travellers. The hunters had even set up a small area just behind the pillar to relieve themselves, clearly showing they had a modicum of manners and a know-how of disease prevention. It doesn't seem these hunters were beginners, more likely skilled survivalists whose luck finally ran out. This attack must have just occurred, for the fire still roars, the logs barely burnt through. Rounding the corner where the beast was feeding, we can see the traps the hunters had set as they awaited their prey, with some bone chimes to warn of its coming, and several bear traps to latch it down. As the hunter mentioned, protruding from this rock we can see ancient pillars, bent and cracked over time, but still showing off their ornate bronze and silver detailing. The runic swirls and engravings of the Dwemer. With the chimes being unbroken, it seems the cat did indeed enter through the cave after the hunters were already within. The hunters likely ran when the beast pounced, racing further into the cave. It seems like they either grabbed their lanterns as they fled, or had preset one down in the cave to spy the saber cats should they approach from below. As the cave opens up into this chamber, we can find one of the poor hunters, having run headfirst into the saber cat's partner. It seems quite a few creatures live in this cave system. There are some cobwebs left behind by frostbite spiders, and a few ice wraiths float throughout the tunnels. There's a tube here at the back of the chamber, which leads up to the surface. It looks like the saber cats might be able to crawl down here, using their strong claws to traverse the slick rock, affording them 2 entrances to their den. Around the place, we can find all kinds of old bones, belonging to both animals and people. There's another fresh kill just here, probably another of the hunting party. They fell in this glowing pocket of the cave, where bioluminescent mushrooms shine in cold blues and greens. Up from the mushrooms is this strange torch, which has been fixed to the rock and burns brightly next to another ancient stone. I wonder if this fixture was put in place by the Dwemer, and one of the hunters made use of it with their own torch, lighting their way back as they attempted to escape the saber cats. Or maybe another expedition once came down here, researching the old ruins. From the torch, we can spy a great bronze door, shut tight in the center of the cave. The mountains have reclaimed whatever grand archway once sat here, but we can catch tiny glimpses of the old structure if we take a look upwards. Within, we can find what looks like an old shrine, with offerings laid out below ancient faces. A light burns above, throwing an interesting webbed shadow around the room, almost like something reaching out to grab us. There's another lit torch in here. It seems some of the hunters must have managed to escape behind the door. On the altar, we can find a healing potion, some lovely gold ore, and a really strangely sized coin pouch. This thing is massive, but only had 43 gold within when I picked it up. There's more blood on the ground, just near the shrine. The hunter must have thought themselves safe at last. But if we try to take a peek within this treasure chest, some more of the cave's inhabitants reveal themselves. The Falmer have made a home down here, crawling between the old ruins. Their chitinous structures are all over the place, and it seems like we've entered some kind of holding pen, them keeping prisoners within this enclosure and piling their newfound loot in the corner. Perhaps they were the ones who lit the torches, using them to draw in potential prey. Over the years, it seems like plenty of poor souls have been nabbed in the dark, entering what they thought was shelter for the night. Within the pen, we can find another one of our hunter friends, they too having perished at the hands of the Falmer. They don't seem to have much use for living prisoners, but there is an alchemy lab just nearby. Perhaps they conduct experiments down here, taking part in old rituals or developing vile poisons. A small settlement has been constructed here in the caves. In the middle is something of a sacrificial altar, where another hunter can be found. It's interesting that we could only see 3 bedrolls in the entrance, when it seems this was a party of at least 5, should we count the bodies that were consumed by the saber-cats. If not, then it's interesting that these 2 we find are tagged as hunters, while the aforementioned body at the entrance is a bandit. Perhaps Bethesda wanted some loot variety on the bodies down here, tagging the bandit to offer some weapons and armor to a player who's accidentally wandered within. This settlement might hold some religious significance to the Falmer, utilizing this old table for their practices. They could be feeding all these bodies to their insectoid pets, or practice cannibalism themselves. In each hut, we can find a small fire to keep themselves warm in the dank cave, these ash piles burning in the dark. I wonder if the Falmer have to worry about smoke inhalation, for I don't think they've installed any ventilation. Perhaps some of the mist on the cave roof is actually smoke, coalescing up there and being pushed away by the soft breeze from outside. If they exist in the Elder Scrolls universe, I'm sure the Falmer are more susceptible to lung diseases like bronchitis, pneumonia, or cancers. Perhaps that's why we can sometimes hear them wheezing in the dark as they scuttle about. It seems these Falmer had formed a symbiotic relationship with the frostbite spiders that live down here, constructing their village alongside a nest. The Falmer probably provide the spiders with safety and food, and in turn can make use of their poisons and the natural defense the webs provide. If we take a look above, we can see the bioluminescence shining from the roof of the cave. The roots, spores, and perhaps chorus larvae. Or is it chorus? Chorus, I have no idea. It's nice though. Glimmering like blue stars, the night sky brought down here below the earth. Sadly, the Falmer have no way to appreciate it. The Falmer are using an old Dwemer pan to cook up some skeever hide, fending off eternal hunger, watched over by the ghosts of their betrayers. Further down, we can enter Tolvald's Gap, an underground river whose banks the Falmer live along. This must be where they get their fresh water, ferrying it up to their hovels in old pots and pans. With the moisture falling from above, the rock must have thousands of veins flowing through it. The Falmer would have to watch out for any signs of an incoming collapse. Up here, they have something of a mushroom farm, where they keep patches of fungi. 2 Falmer were busy collecting some in these huge baskets to help feed the colony. I wonder if the Falmer claim ownership over things, this farm belonging to the inhabitant of this hut, or if it's more of a commune, where each person is expected to assist in the upkeep of the patch. The Falmer don't seem to place much value on gold and coin, preferring more tactile trade goods like food and materials. In these damp environs, I wonder if their little fire pits are ignited with oils or other flammable fuels, the kindling probably full of moisture. They could keep their fires going for ages, should they keep finding things to help retain the flame. Here, they had something of a chorus/chorus farm. It looks like they were breeding the insects, letting them lay plenty of eggs, which could then be used for food, or to produce more stock. Continuing through the village, we can come to Tolvald's Crossing, where the Dwemer architecture soon overtakes that of the Falmer. Ancient pistons and cogs working endlessly to service a dead city. It looks like this might have been an old waterworks, moving water between the underground basins to power forges, turbines, and all kinds of fantastic technologies. As we pass through the crossing, we can begin to catch glimpses of ghostly figures. Dwemer, sitting in silence. Their bones, the only thing that remains. By the bones of one such apparition, we can find a journal.
Another dream of Red Mountain erupting. People running as flaming rocks the size of cantons fell from the sky. Can still see my brother's outstretched arm as he tried to reach the silt strider and walked right out into the boiling waters. Not just Vardenfell, all of Morrowind was hit by the rocks. There's no work and no food will grow under the ashes. We are going to try for Skyrim.
It seems these bones once belonged to Dwemer refugees, who sought to travel to Skyrim after the eruption of the Red Mountain. They had elected to take the old passages of the Dwemer, hoping to pop out in the rift. As we walk, an ancient pathway begins to form under our feet. Stones that once guided travellers through the bowels of the city, led by whirring lights that shine with strange magic. At the end of this fork, lit by the last remaining embers of a brazier barely tended by the Falmer, we can find a collapsed section of the cave, skeletons buried beneath the rubble. Nearby one, another tattered journal.
Hearing things in the darkness, every sound seems amplified, and it is hard to sleep over the sobbing. Madras has started hallucinating from hunger. She says she saw a white elf peering out at us from the dark corners of the tunnel. Used to be a battle mage and tried to hold them off. Caused a cave-in that let some escape, but we were trapped with these things. Given up hope of escape.
These poor refugees were attacked by the Falmer, just as the hunters were, accidentally finding themselves deep within the nest in a sad turn of events. It appears the Dwemer had a battle mage, who caused the collapse in one last attempt to escape the Falmer. Among the bones, we indeed find weaponry of both Falmer and Dwemer make. Should we not pursue the unusual gem quest? There's no way to bypass this rubble. But after the painstaking journey of finding each one, this rubble will be mysteriously absent. The Falmer probably having a chance to clean it up, with the amount of time you'll spend traipsing across Skyrim. Beyond is an old Dwemer wall, and countless bones of the dead. Hundreds of Dwemer refugees who met their end here at the hands of the Falmer, fighting to their last breath, here in the depths of the world. But hiding in the rubble, we can spy something that shines at us. Here lies the crown of Baron Zaya, an ancient artifact likely coveted by these Dwemer. As we approach, spirits of the dead leap out from the ether to attack us. Some sworn defense pact, perhaps keeping them chained to this world, or a promise to watch over their dead companions. They also like to kill each other, for some reason. We can put the ghosts down and leave the graveside in peace, allowing the Dwemer here to rest. It seems the Falmer looted most of the refugee caravan, having placed it all here in this little den. But on this rock, we can find a knife and some Falmer ears, which is a little weird. Were the Falmer busy lobbing their own ears off? Or did some of these Dwemer leave a few scars before they fell? Coming into this giant tube, we can look up to see what is basically a Falmer city. Countless hovels protruding from the walls, like faces staring down at us. Nearby, on a table, we can find yet another journal.
The map we traded a glass dagger to get is a fake. We can't find the pass marked over the mountains. Should have tried for the rift. Took shelter from the storm in the ruins, stepped on a pressure plate and trapped us inside. Gildren said he's heard of the dwarven roads that lead under the mountains. Have to try.
These Dwemer were forced to take these deep roads, all dead due to a single mismarked map. Hopefully, whoever traded it for the glass dagger got some good use out of the weapon. Continuing to ascend through the dwarven city, we can come across this walkway that sits on the river. The rapids flow underneath, threatening to drag us down. This might have once been a bit of a major crossroad for the Dwemer, though most of the passages are now barred with rock. There is this random chair here, a good spot for the Falmer to rest their legs, in between all the skulking about. The rapids flow down here, becoming the waterfall we entered under. The Falmer have marked these pipes as a bridge, using some effigies. The old technology of the Dwemer becoming a simple walkway for those they enslaved. This dungeon has one of the more egregious Skyrim doors, popping us right out here by the hunter's camp. Though it does explain how the Falmer are able to nab people so effectively, disappearing behind this secret passage. And with that, we make it back out into the fresh Skyrim air. And that's pretty much Tolvald's cave. What seems to be an innocuous little passage, turning into something of a horror story. Dwarven ruins are a bit hit or miss for me, but I love the remnants left behind in this dungeon, only peeking in from behind rockfalls as the architecture flows between Falmer and Dwemer. The connection between three mer cultures becoming more apparent as you delve deeper. It's fun to take a look at the place, without having trekked through half of Skyrim first to get these gems for a reward you probably don't even need by the time you get it. Thanks for watching. If there's any games, moments, or details you'd like us to take a look at, let us know in the comments. Shout out to our members: Thane Krios 8, Anna A2640, Najkula, Renee, Patrick Connaughton 4171, Speed of the Earth, Nathan Armstrong 6085, Aiden 839, and Call Me Jibs. Thank you all so much for your support. We'll be back to live streaming again soon, so stay tuned for that, alongside more oddities, odysseys, open roads, observations, and opinions. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Wait, who the fuck is Tolvald?